I do spend a lot of time on the Fundie Snark subreddit, and
I do
it's
too.
oh man,
I do
that
too.
that is my true crime podcast at night. That is how I fall asleep.
Yes.
I just read and all those posts, and I feel like I know these families and
Yes.
way too much about their personal lives and how they're renovating their houses. It's great.
Yes. So funny story. There's Fundie Snark and there's Fundie Snark Uncensored.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. I was referring to uncensored.
well, so I got banned from Fundie Snark. I'm only on Fundie Snark Uncensored now because I posted.
What did you do?
So listen, it's weird. It's weird. I'm still confused. Hemant, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate having you on the podcast. Last week or the week before, I had gone onto a bunch of subreddits, as I do occasionally, and I had asked people.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I go under a pseudonym. If I went under my real name, I just get, because I have an account under my real name, not good.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, who would you like to see on the podcast? Who are your favorite speakers and YouTubers in the atheist and secular space? And your name was just bam, 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 like one right after the other. Yeah. And so that was my first introduction to your work. I thought until today, I made the Jeopardy connection. You were on Jeopardy, right?
I was. I had a super long streak of 2 days. But yeah, no, it happened right when the pandemic started. So
yeah.
That no one's paying any attention.
I made that connection literally like an hour ago.
That's awesome. No, it was so cool. Like I got to do it before COVID. I got to tape it before COVID, but Alex Trebek was there. Like I feel like I got a real experience and it went well. It was such a cool opportunity.
That is so awesome. The minute I made that connection, I was like, oh, that's so wild. I did not expect. Yeah, I feel like every time I look at a new web page that's like a bio about you, I learn something new. It's like, oh, he was on Jeopardy and he's a speech coach and he does all these things.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
People speak very highly of you though, which is
what thanks, I think is Reddit.
Really, yeah, which is like it's right. Reddit. People don't talk nice on Reddit. But one of the ways that I gauge how somebody might be as a guest is how their fan base treats me as a woman on the internet. So I know that when I come across a bunch of dudes who I see like in their post history are just like arguing about stuff, just burning it down, but they're still like, oh, he's a good dude. Like we'd love to see him on the podcast. I think that speaks a lot about your platform and your work and what you do. Good. Yeah. And
that means a lot.
Yeah. And so it wasn't surprising to me at all that you were also the friendly atheist, right? Is that
that's the, like my email and that moniker. It's one of those things you pick at early on because like whatever, I'll have this for a minute and then I'll use my real name. I'll do whatever. And then, it's stuck. And even now I write for a totally different site than I ever started with. Right. And I told them like, no, go by my name. It's just better for me. It's all better. But like, yeah, the moniker sticks. And now it's very hard to change it.
Yes.
But for what it's worth, the reason I even picked that phrase in the first place is because at the time, this is like mid 2000s, a little after that, everyone, this is like when the Dawkins book came out and Sam Harris book came out, and everyone who was talking about atheism online was talking about angry atheism, aggressive, militant atheism. And I'm like, and there is some value to that, but also I just knew that's not me. That's not what I want to, that's not who I am personally. But more than anything, because I had done this publicity stunt and people were writing about it, I'm like, I'm going to make you say friendly and atheist together. Because if I don't force your hand, I don't think you're going to do it.
Right.
And then that stuck. It's not because I'm nice necessarily. It's more like, no, it's straight up marketing. And now it's stuck. And so it's, hey, if it fits, great. But it's not necessarily like, I'm not setting myself up to be, I'm nicer than all the other ones. No, that's never been the case.
I met the friendly atheist and he was an ass. Like he called me all these names. Like it was awful.
Wouldn't that be a hell of a way to do this podcast though?
you're just so mean. You're just like, and your
He's
eyebrows
not
are
friendly
ugly.
at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also I feel like in terms of screen names though, because I feel like we all went through that phase in like 2008, 2009, where everybody was really jumping on YouTube and stuff. It's like, at least it wasn't like I Heart Nickelback 2009 or so. Like it could be worse, you know, or like
it could be worse.
Like oh, what's another one?
Dawkins
MySpace is my life.
Oh yeah.
Fanboy BOI. Yeah, it could be a lot worse. Could be way worse.
It totally could be. It's not the worst thing. It's just one of those like relics that lives on, and like I'm not ashamed of it, but also I'm like, you don't have to use that word. You don't have to use the phrase, whatever.
Right.
The weird thing is, I think atheist is even something I call myself less of these days.
Yeah.
Not because I've moved away from that, but it seems less of an identity to me, at least, than it used to be, which is just odd.
Yeah. I definitely feel like when you first begin to deconstruct, there's this time where you're afraid to use the word because you're afraid people are judging you. Then you're using the word all the time because you have to let everyone know around you, now that you're out about it, that I'm an atheist. And then after that, maybe it's just because we're getting older. I don't know. Maybe we're just older and we're like, titles are titles, whatever. I'm just not going to church. Like that's just...
I mean, one of the most amazing developments is that because the percentage of people who are not religious, not atheists necessarily, just I don't believe in stuff like that, because that number has gone up and up and up, it's become, there's less of a stigma attached to saying you're non-religious. And so saying, no, I'm an atheist, that honestly, one, it doesn't carry as much weight. Like the oomph of using that word back in the day doesn't mean as much anymore. And also the connotation that goes with it, especially in online circles and Twitter and things like that. It's like, I don't want to be associated with all that stuff too. Like my best friends are atheists, but still, it's a lot of that.
Right. It's like, this is non-religious me, this is atheist me, like like the word just and so, but you weren't always non-religious. You were raised within Jainism, right?
It's Jainism. It's this smaller Indian religion, and without getting into all the details, there's some overlap with ideas from Hinduism, Buddhism, things like that, but more than anything, they believe in nonviolence in physical form, like you're vegetarian, don't kill other animals, don't step on bugs, things like that. And then you're not supposed to have bad thoughts either. And like philosophically, that all sounds like it's coming from a good place. So it's like, it's easy. I remember, I've said this before in other places, but like when Sam Harris wrote his book, The End of Faith, he goes on and on about how fundamentalist religions, those are bad. We should oppose that. But also the moderates kind of give cover to a lot of the fundamentalists. And then there's a place in his book, and I'd never seen this before when I read it, so it stood out to me, where he says, I guess there's one exception to this rule, which is Jainism, because if people were like fundamentalist Jain, we wouldn't be so bad off. And I remember just like, I've never heard anyone speak about Jainism who isn't one, but also to say it's a positive thing. You're just proving my point right here, which is, it's not a bad idea. Now, there are ways it can be taken too far. There are a lot of beliefs that are irrational and harmful. But, I feel like my deconstruction is very different from a lot of the people who grew up in Christianity, various forms of Christianity, very strict religions. Like, I feel like I got a pretty good end of the stick on that one. It wasn't a huge leap, but I certainly felt that I was doing something wrong at the time.
Yeah. And what was it? Because it does seem to be such a peaceful ideology from, at least from an outside perspective. I know there's far ends of the spectrum, no matter what doctrine you follow. What was it about that made you take a very permanent leap and not only just kind of fade out of it, but decide this isn't me at all, I'm not religious?
I think the biggest tipping point was my family moved to a different state when I was like a freshman in high school, like right before that year started. Big year, a lot of change going on. And of course, I didn't want to move. I had friends back home. But it wasn't that event so much as it got me wondering for the first time, like, why would God do this to me? And then, the thing about questioning any of this stuff is once you realized that it's okay to have those questions, then all the other ones start coming through. How come I'm taught to believe in this stuff, but no one else around me has even heard of any of this stuff? And if this makes sense, then that has to mean they're all wrong. And like, whatever, it got the ball rolling on the questions. And it didn't it was at a time in my life where I can actually try to figure out the answers. I don't have anyone to talk it out with, but this is like, we're talking early dial-up AOL. You can go online when everyone's sleeping and the phone line is not busy.
Get off the phone.
And you could search for some of this stuff. And I didn't know the word atheist, but what I did find is like, what happens if you have doubts about God? And you would find these like shady ass websites from people clearly writing from their parents' basement. And it's like, the man living in the basement seems to make a lot of sense here. And it's like, I don't think I'm moving away from my religion. I think I'm moving away from religion, period, because I don't think any of the rest of these have it right. That happened really quickly. But then the more I thought about it and seriously thought about it, not just late night on a whim or something, it's like, I don't feel like I made the wrong decision here. And I just got pretty comfortable with it. And it wasn't until college where I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to meet other atheists because it means it's such a big part of my identity at the time. So that's when I started getting involved with a group on my campus. That's when I started learning and wanting to be a part of national nonprofits that work towards these aims. If there was, I swear to God, if there was like a pipeline like a lot of evangelical churches have to go from very interested teenager to like running a church, that pipeline, if there was a similar one, I'm sure I would have gone down it, but it didn't exist. And so for myself, and honestly, a lot of people who write about atheism in general online, especially, we all have kind of had to forge our own paths in various weird ways to make this kind of a career, which is weird to say, but but yeah, that was the transition for me.
And was it at what point in your transition did your family find out about it? Did they kind of find out you were serious about it? Were they upset? How does that work in a religion like yours as opposed to like Baptist like mine?
I don't think it was that different. I'm sure. I don't know. I'm curious what you went through, but I know for me, I just didn't talk about it with them. So I'm sure I raised doubts with them. Like, come on, really? But I didn't actually say anything until I got involved with this stuff in college, where I got to the point where like I'm working with some of these organizations now, or I'm getting a scholarship to go to a conference. And it's like, at this point, I'm buying a plane ticket and getting reimbursed for it. Like, they should probably know why I'm heading on a plane to another state somewhere.
Right.
But the truth is, when I told them, like, here's what I'm going for, here's what I'm doing, their biggest concern was not so much the thought crime. It was, are you still a vegetarian? Are you still a good person? Are you still a good person?
Yeah.
And when they realize, I mean, one answer is I never was, but two, the other answer is like, I'm no different than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, same person, same trajectory, career-wise, whatever you think I'm going to do, they're like, okay. So we didn't have some big blow up. It almost for a while just became, we'll just not talk about it.
Right.
So, and that's fine. I can handle that. We have a great relationship now. We just kind of, I don't think they know what I do.
Right.
To be honest.
Right. Yeah. And
that's not honestly, a joke. They don't know what I do.
That's sometimes the best, honestly. That's sometimes the best thing, where they don't know enough about it to raise a ton of questions and start those, difficult conversations and arguments. But that's very interesting. And
I'll tell them I'm doing I'm doing this podcast interview, and they're like, oh, tell everyone to believe in God. And they're not joking when they say that. I'm like, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about.
That is, in fact, quite the opposite of what I will do today. Or they do the whole so how was your speech that you gave? Did it go well? Good. Did you make us proud? Good.
What did you talk about? Don't worry about it.
Yeah. My family, we've never actually ever talked about it. And that's how I know they don't listen to podcasts.
There you go.
Yeah, my mom told me years ago, she's like, I just don't like podcasts, but like, I'm proud of you, but I just don't like podcasts. So I knew when I started this podcast, I was like, it's probably going to be a while before she ever listens to it.
Right.
My brother knows.
They're never going to find my OnlyFans account. It's great.
Exactly. It's like, oh, that they found, and it was a blow up. It was a blow up. Gosh.
No, exactly. Like when they don't listen to the stuff I do, I know they don't watch the videos I put out. So it's like, it's not even that we have an argument about it. It's just, there are other things in our lives that we end up talking about when we get together. So it became a non-factor. And again, I have talked to so many people who have left religions where it's so much harder for so many reasons, especially when they're coming from a very insular community, when they, the thing religion provides that is really good is a safety net and a social safety net too. So for some people, if you have doubts or you walk away from your faith, it's not just in your mind. You are leaving behind your family. You are losing your friends, maybe your job, your volunteering, like everything you do to go out of the house, you're losing that. Right. That's a hard thing to do. I've tried to tell atheists before, like telling people why the Bible is wrong or having a debate on God's existence doesn't mean much for people who don't have the ability to leave because there's too much keeping them in there.
Yes.
To compare to all that, I had it super easy, and I don't want to like overstate that for myself. It felt like a big deal at the time, but man, I know too many people who got it so much worse.
Well, and I think it's all relative, right? Like when we were in high school, we thought that was the hardest workload we would ever have in our lives. And now we would pay money to go back, when you think, or when you're not sure what your family is going to say or how they're going to react, that's really scary. And oftentimes our brains make it even scarier before we actually approach it.
Oh yeah. You're thinking through the conversations, what could happen, this,
exactly. And then sometimes we know exactly what they're going to say. And then that's even scarier with a lot of these fundamentalist and evangelical groups. And that's why I called the podcast Growing Up Fundie, because I know a lot of people who have always been atheists. So while they agree with a lot of the same things and they listen to the same podcasts and they read the same books, they don't have that scope of, first I have to plan an escape. Like first I'm having questions. Then I'm trying to figure out if that's wrong. Because, for example, like growing up Christian, like I did, Baptist, they tell you when you're a kid, they tell you someday in your life, the devil will make you question God. And you have to stand before those questions. And those questions will be asked by people that you thought were friends. They might be asked by people who are loved ones. And you have to, and you have to be ready. So, of course, the very first time that you start to have doubts, you're like, this is what they warned me about. So you have to go through that. Am I falling for it? Am I failing the test already? Or is this just not making any sense? Like, and so, so I definitely.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And for the people who went through that and still found a way to get out, like so much respect. That's so hard to do.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I say that to say, I would not discount your experience either, because to you, that was probably the more difficult transition that you'd ever had, and to somebody else, that's difficult for them. But at the end of the day, I think
that may have, sorry to interrupt. No, I think you're right that may have been the first big decision I ever made by myself, not influenced by anybody else. And it stuck with me, right? Like, no one suggests. I think I had one friend who was agnostic, but I didn't really know what that meant to her. We didn't talk about it as much, but it's like, she didn't tell me to do anything. So it was the first time I'm like, oh, I have a big thought about this. And now I'm going to pursue it, and I'm taking it seriously, and I want to read up as much as I can about it. Part of me is jealous that there are so many interesting YouTubers, podcasters, people online, resources, because like more or less I had none of that available. And like, I love the fact that I feel like one way I can give back is making content that maybe someone could see and be like, oh, okay, this doesn't sound as scary. I mean, I feel like a lot of the videos I make, and even the podcast to an extent, is if you are Christian and listening to this, I hope you agree with everything I'm saying, because I am not, I don't do the debate thing. I don't care if you believe in God or not. I hope most of what I'm saying is just like, oh yeah, well, that does go too far. I do disagree with that stuff. Of course, these people should have rights. It's like, okay, cool. Then if we are aligned on that stuff, I mean, I'm not gonna push further because I have other things to do. You like, figure that one out on your own.
I have a full calendar, sir. Yeah. Like, yeah. Well, and also it goes back to that whole, you have to let people, and this goes for many, many facets of life. You have to let people allow it to be their idea.
Right.
I remember when I was
you can plant a seed. You can give them the bitter pill, but they got to swallow it. They got to take the water. They'll figure it out.
Right. And because I remember when I was first having these thoughts and ideas, I started dating someone who was a militant atheist, like one of those militant early, like 2013 atheists, like YouTube, you know, the one like, oh, like so-and-so destroy so-and-so. That's all he ever watched. And it actually took me a lot longer to become an atheist because he was so militant about it that I felt very defensive and like I needed to protect myself, you know?
I have so many questions about your relationship.
Oh, it was wild. It was past tense.
But I know that type, and I've been around that type, and it's like I'm really glad that I avoided that particular rabbit hole, because I know way too many colleagues who definitely did not.
Right.
And it's like, oh man, it would have been so easy to get sucked into that path.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like I've heard people criticize like Reddit atheism, which is the big monster of that load.
Right.
And I mean that in a good way, but it's like, it's the biggest subreddit for that stuff, because so much of it is, I destroyed this person, or this, here's a clip of someone destroying.
About. Yeah.
And it's not what it's about. And also it's like, I do get where you're coming from, because if you are leaving a Baptist faith or something and you realize, wait, this other thing makes way more sense, you kind of want to shout that to the world. Like, none of you see this? Like, what's up? How have none of you figured this out? So the memes are funny. The pictures can be funny.
Yes.
And it's like, you got to let them have their space and enjoy this stuff. Just because you're used to it doesn't mean it's like infantile, immature, whatever. I do know it's not for me right now, but it's like, all right, let them have their place to vent, rant in an anonymous sort of way, because a lot of the people don't have the chance. I do sometimes tell other atheists that if you really want to know what this stuff is like for other people, don't go to Reddit atheism. Go on the website, but there's a drop down menu for like X blank EX, like X blanks. So you can go to X Fundies, like X Mormons, and ex-Muslims, and look at those subreddits, because they're way smaller, but they all speak the language. So if you go to like the ex-Mormon subreddit, the stuff they're talking about, like, it may not make sense as much to me, but I promise you everyone there knows the people, the type of things that are going on, the controversies within their circles. And it's so fascinating to just be the little birdie on the wall there. I get to see what this group is arguing about, and it's very interesting. And if there is some sort of drama that seeps out of that bubble, it's like, you know what, I don't trust my own judgment because I'm not part of this group. Let me go to see what the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are saying about this and that, because they really know what's going on. Like, as a journalist, it's really interesting.
Absolutely. And I also think that, you know, these atheist forums, they like to talk about how religion is so harmful. Religion is so harmful. What I think is also equally as harmful is being that forceful, angry, militant atheist to somebody who is slowly trying to come to terms with the like loss and the confusion that comes with deconstructing. And
like you said, you got to give them their space.
You have to give them their space. So like in my instance, every time I came in the living room, like these angry videos were playing. Every time I had a question where I was like, hey, like, why do you think that so many people? Yeah, because they're a bunch of dumb fucks, right? Like that like regressed.
You know what's weird? I probably know who all those videos are coming from too. Like, we're probably acquaintances now.
Yes.
But I totally know what you mean.
I've had some of them on the podcast. But and you like in my case, I like regressed and I was like, no, I'm not ready for this. Like, that's not, no, I don't think that my loved ones back home are idiots. I don't think my loved ones are idiots. Like, that's not what I think. And in order to be an atheist, that's what I have to think. I have to think that they're like idiots and that I have to be angry. And when in reality, I think the best way that you can help somebody kind of come out of that shell is when they're like, I don't know that God's real. And you're like, so what if he wasn't? What would you do? You know, so, okay, so let's play this game where he's not real. So if he wasn't real, what would that mean for you? That means you're no longer going to hell, which is cool, you know?
I'm sure you've had this in Baptist churches where it's like, you have to have God to be moral. If you weren't moral, like you would steal, loot, rape, pillage, all that stuff. It's like, okay, so if you play your game, if you had doubts about God, if you didn't believe God existed, what would you do? I think Matt Dillahunty said this. I don't know if he's the originator of this, but the statement he makes in like debates is, I do rape all the people I want. I do steal and cheat as much as I want because the number is zero. And the fact that it would be higher for you in your mind should scare all of us.
Right.
But that's kind of the thing. Like, the cool part about the rise of non-religious people is it's a lot easier to point out that, like, that argument you were saying that some of those YouTube atheist types make, where it's like, they're all dumb. It's like, well, there's so many atheists now. It's very easy to find you very dumb atheists. And there are so many awesome, smart Christians that you could point to and just say, look, I do think they're wrong about their theology.
Yes.
But their values and my values align. So let's work together on stuff. And by the way, I've seen organizations dedicated to atheism saying, you know what? On these issues, we're happy to partner with this Jewish group and this Hindu group and whatever, because we disagree on this stuff, but on this church-state separation matter, we are all on board.
Yes.
And that's been really good to see. Like, the upside of all these atheists around is that it's no longer confined to one stereotype.
Right.
Exactly. And I wish more media people figured that one out, because it's still frustrating that the default atheist, if you had to think of someone, is still, and I'm not even trying to knock the guy, it's still Dawkins, it's still Harris, it's usually a white older guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, but there are so many other people out there. How come those are not the names in charge? And like, there's no Pope of atheism. You don't get to just appoint someone and say, there's the person you should follow.
Right.
But you wish there were more women that people would think of when you said atheist, or, you know, just people of color, because they are out there, but they don't get the attention that certain people get, which like, it's infuriating.
And when you Google, you know, when you're first trying to figure this out and you Google these things, the top videos are like Christopher Hitchens just wrecking somebody on stage. And you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, it's just a lot. Even if you're like, he's not making a terrible point. You're just like, that was and the debater in me was even scared. I was just like, oh, this is a little much.
The clip is great, but there's other stuff there's other places to go. There are other arguments to make. There are other types of voices you could be listening to as well. And again, with algorithms, and again, because of that legacy, I've made this point in speeches I give more recently, but it's like, if you go to make up a number, top 50 books in the category of atheism on Amazon, what you find is that most of them, I will bet good money on this, most of them are still those new atheism books from like 2006 or recent republications of them, or translations of them, or rebuttals to them. It's all those books. There are occasionally newer books by authors today about atheism, but they last for like a month or two and then they're off the list. But that's frustrating. Like, even with Christianity, if you go to the evangelical section, I promise you, of those 50 books, like 40 of them just came out, because there's so many authors, so many different types of voices. Some of them contradict each other. Some of them have conflicts with each other, but there's a robust internal debate going on there about various topics. We don't have that, and we don't have the infrastructure to get out new voices or ideas, because it's not just, it's one answer to one question and we're all done.
Right.
Which, it's frustrating.
Yeah. And we don't have entire channels that play on a loop at the local gym with like phone numbers where you can call and donate. And like, we don't have like mega churches for, you know, for our folks. Yeah. Although,
so what you're saying is we need a Jim Baker.
We do.
What you're saying.
We
need a Joel Osteen of atheism.
We need a Joel Osteen of atheism, and we need a Tammy Faye Baker of atheism.
Yes.
I nominate myself.
Yes.
I feel like I could do the makeup look. I feel like I could recreate it, maybe get the beehive going.
There you go.
What we really need, I got to tell you, this would turn the planet, is we need Dolly Parton to come out as an atheist. That's what we need.
Hell yeah.
That would,
you know what was interesting? Daniel Radcliffe came out as an atheist in a bunch of interviews back when the movies were coming out, the Harry Potter movies. And I'm like, it was, and he has nothing to do with any of the groups or organizations that are atheists. Right. He just happens to be one. But I'm telling you, all the groups claimed him as our own. And I swear, I've been in discussions where they're like, do you think he would come to a conference? No, there is not a chance in hell he would come.
No.
But good try. But yeah. I feel like I've heard this from like a lot of Jewish atheists I know, where it's everyone just claim like that person's an atheist. Did you know that person too? Yeah, he's one of us.
We're collecting like the infinity stones of like atheists.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, if Betty White had come out as an atheist before she died,
or if Dolly on her Parton, deathbed,
she's like, my last words are, I never believed in God. And then she dies. And we're like, oh my God. Oh,
rewrite the obituary right there.
Rewrite the 10 commandments, man. Like none of this is true. Like none of this has been fake the whole time.
Right. But that's the thing, like, and you know this from comedy too, which is like, they're out there. They don't necessarily have to be outspoken about it. But like, that's the thing. In certain areas, certain genres, like acting to name one, you're going to find a lot of people who are more liberal, who are probably more liberal on religion too, Absolutely. But they don't necessarily talk about it. But this is one of the things I've been tracking for years now, which is what about politicians? Because imagine the impact it would have if someone who was genuinely popular as a politician, which good luck with that, but also came out and said they're an atheist. And let's forget the political ramifications of that. If the highest profile atheist in the country was someone whose job it was to make your life better, in theory, that's what all politicians are doing, right? Because they're public servants. I feel like that would be so much better than someone like a Hitchens or a Dawkins, whose job it is or was to make the argument for atheism as a standalone thing. So part of it is like, it's the fact that Joe Biden is a Catholic. I mean, the Catholic Church should be grateful for it. The fact that there are so many famous Christians makes it a lot easier to be one. But again, if you try to think of just even you, because you're steeped in this, because you talk about it, if you try to name famous atheists, odds are you're going to find someone whose job it is whose thing is, I want to get you to stop believing in God. It is not someone who is there to do good, the Dolly Parton style person who just happens to be an atheist. But like other religions have that. It's like we need a Marie Osmond.
Yes. Yeah, Dolly Parton would just be like, come to Dolly Parton's library where we don't have any copies of the Bible, but we got everything else. Come on.
All the books they're banning everywhere else, we got them here.
Yeah. I absolutely think you're right. I think what we need, and I think we are doing this. I think the most recent 3 or 4 generations are doing a very good job of this. And older generations are doing this too, just not quite in the same numbers, is we got it out of our system to make it our brand, to make it our name, to be the CrossFitters of atheism. You know, it's all on the t-shirts and that's my thing. It's on my Tinder bio. And now that we've got it out of our system, we're now doing the whole, I'm going to live my life in a way that is creative, that is productive, where I'm kind, where I'm entertaining, where I'm generous. And I'm going to let people figure out on their own that I'm also not religious. I was having a conversation with somebody about this who is a comedian, and he was on my podcast. He's a Christian. And I said, you know, one of the number one things I hate about being a woman in comedy is that all of our shows are like the ladies' night, ladies of comedy, the ladies lineup, like come see the women, the funny gals, the period lineup or whatever. And I'm like,
we found 3 of them.
Yeah, we found 3. And and then we're still going to have it hosted by a guy just because we want to make you comfortable. But he's just going to talk for a little bit. But I've always said, we should just name the show something normal and let people figure out like halfway through that they're only seeing women, or on their way home, because he runs a lot of clean shows. And I'm like, I hate it when it's like the clean comedy hour, the clean this, because it sounds like it's going to be church comedy. Let them figure out on their way home, as they're quoting what they heard to their family, that they
I'm not swearing. I'm not saying sex jokes. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's kind of how I feel about the atheism approach, is that like, yeah, I have this podcast, but it's not like the atheism is the right way podcast. And I had an episode just 2 days ago where I interviewed 3 pastors. Like, I like to have a big group of people. I ask them honest questions. I don't pretend to agree with everybody who's on, but I think if you instead live your life in a way that people respect and they think is really cool, and they want to be your follower, and they like, for example, your rhetorical style, then they're like, also, this person is non-religious, and I recognize that I don't have to be amazing atheist, which not knocking the dude, but dude screamed a lot at me in the 2013 era. He doesn't know it, but he did.
Did you see that guy of all people, TJ, also put out a video recently where he said what you just said about 2013 him? Basically, like, I'm not that guy. I feel bad that I was that guy. It was fascinating.
I'm gonna go look that up, because I just reached out to him like 3 days ago. So maybe I'll send him another email that's like, hey, I want to talk about this video. That's cool. And here's another thing that I think
he led people down the rabbit hole, and somehow he got out of the rabbit hole himself.
Wait a second. It's like, you built the rabbit hole. Why are you saying you're glad you escaped? I'm confused. But another thing that I think is really important, and I think this is, if that's like his most recent video, I would love to highlight that, is everybody is evolving. Evolution, ironically, everybody's evolving now. And like, sure, he built his platform on videos that now he looks back and he was like, that was a little immature, that was a little loud, that was a little much. But he had to go through that period to come out as who he is now. And we all had to go through various periods of our life, whether it's like punk phases. I feel like everybody who I grew up with had to go through our, like, when you're 10, you're like a hardcore evangelical Christian just because like you just watch VeggieTales nonstop. And I think that is something that I hope society, as we are shifting towards non-religious people who don't have to call themselves atheists, becoming more and more of a population, I hope we also recognize that we also change. I have probably 12 years worth of videos hidden on my YouTube channel, because you just have to try everything. You have to try everything. You have to see what sticks. And if you're willing to come out and be like, I'm not the same person I was, I still believe this, but I feel like I could have delivered it differently. I feel like I could. I think that is a much better message than, say, cancel culture, or, I hate TJ. I don't care what he said. He can't go back on what he said. He made all his money doing that, and now he's going. Like, no, dude's changed. We all change. Drunken peasants,
especially when you're doing it in the public light. Like, whatever, I can hide the pictures of me from high school. I will hide the pictures of me from high school, but like, I wasn't doing YouTube in high school, and I'm glad I didn't. But the kids who are that intense about anything in high school now are putting it online. And like, I know I sound so old when I say this, but it's like, you are going to change, but like, how do you control that stuff? Here's the interesting thing. I started blogging in like 2006 when I was just getting involved in all this stuff publicly. And I'm still blogging now in a way, but all those archives exist and they are public. So I don't have pictures of me, but I do have those things I wrote. And it's not that I'm ashamed of the ideas necessarily, but of course it's horrible writing. I don't feel the same way now about a lot of stuff, and it's all there. Like, if you wanted to do opposition research on me, it would be so easy to find some stuff I did back in the day. But that's the thing. It's like, I hope anyone trying to pinpoint, like, look what this person said, whatever, it's online media stuff. You got to follow the trajectory. Don't say they did this without explaining where they are at now. And if it's the same, screw them. But like, for a lot of us, especially if you're doing this stuff publicly, the downside is you're doing it publicly, and it's out there. And if you're doing it right, it will come back to haunt you, because it means you are changing. It means you are evolving. That's a good thing.
Right. And do you know how you remedy this? I found the perfect solution. I literally
burn everything you've ever done.
Quite the opposite. Because once you come to terms with the fact that the internet is forever and the way back machine is going to pull this shit up, become a stand-up comedian, write your own sets about the dumb stuff you used to do, monetize it yourself. And you're like, because I told people in high school that I went to high school, I'm like, listen, the reason I tell all of the worst things I've ever done publicly on record and I post it on my own YouTube channel is so you can't. So
what you're saying, you post this, that's great. You post this stuff on your YouTube channel, hoping you can monetize it. But then, in a few years, you can go back and do one of those videos where the video is in the little small screen right here, and you're watching that video, and now you're double monetizing it from back in. Man.
Yeah.
It's a recurring cycle every couple of years.
Yeah. It's great because you can be like, somebody could be like, hey, do you remember when like Sydney did that really weird thing where she like pretended to be a CSI for like 3 years and she like had caution tape and like gloves and she would like take evidence out of the high school? That was really fucking weird.
Last week was wild.
Yeah. But I can be like, hey, remember that time that I did that? You're like, yeah, let's cringe together. And so you can also control that narrative.
You said it perfectly, which is the controlling of the narrative. And like, you get to point it out. You've been there. You've said this shit. And like, yes, you own it. And if you're the one that brings it up, I say this to the kids I coach all the time. If they're for public speaking, competitive stuff, sometimes depending on the student, there are things we are thinking about you that the second you walk up there, if you can call it out first, we will love you for it. Get ahead of them, right?
Get ahead of it.
It's a joke, whatever it is.
Absolutely. And and sometimes I've said that to people and they're like, oh, so you're just like deflecting. And I'm like, no, I have legitimately learned the lesson and I would not redo these things. And I'm not making a joke out of what I did. I'm telling the story and I'm telling it honestly because one of my favorite kind of sets to do when I do stand up is when I open it with, you're not going to like me by the end of the story. And when all the reactions I get for the entire set are like, ooh, like cringe, like there's no laughs. It's all like, ooh, or like, no, or like the story just gets worse as it goes along.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not making a joke out of what I did. It's not funny, the stuff that I used to say or the things that I used to think. But when when you can stand up there and be like, no, you can say it. This was dumb. Like this was I mean, there's evidence out there from back when I was a Republican Christian girl. Like that life existed on the internet. And that's why I have time hop so I can like go back and delete it as it shows up. But I know what's out there. And I know one day they're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, in 2008, you tweeted like a racially insensitive joke. And I'm like, you could say, oh, well, it was a different time. Or you could be like, yeah, and I learned a big lesson. And I've actually got a video. If you want to watch, I've got a video right here where I break it down and I pull up the screenshot myself and I talk about what an idiotic thing that was to do. And I would never do it again. So don't do what I did.
I deleted every tweet from like two years is like everything before that. It's gone. I lose some old stuff that I probably really liked, but I'm like, you know what? I don't remember who I was 2-3 years ago, even though I'm like old now. Like, I don't know what I said. It was probably stupid. So get rid of it. Cause I like judge me by who I am now, I hope. And let me do the internal reflection of why I'm not that person anymore. But again, this is the upside of living everything out there, which is, it is all out there, but as long as you're changing, it's so weird to me that there are people who still do some shtick online, but it's the same thing they were doing forever ago.
Right.
I had a teacher once who's like, no, every 10 years you need to completely change your career. And he did, which was wild.
That is
wild.
It's
like, we passed it off as a joke back in the day, but it's like, I kind of get that. Like you get to reinvent yourself. Like, it's not that I'm struggling with this or anything, but it's like, that would be kind of interesting to just totally reinvent everything about myself and just go off and do something totally different. I feel like I can't, and I don't want to, but like, I do see the appeal to that.
Absolutely.
But if you're online, very, very hard to do.
Very hard to do. They will. Oh, they do. They find you. I found a whole subreddit that like was shitting on me once, which when I started commenting on it, it immediately disappeared. I was like, you cowards, you cowards. But
there you go.
Yeah, and I feel like the reinvention and the adaptability and the evolution of people is something that I think is so important. Like, if you had looked at who I was as a person, even as recently as 2021, like, I'm just a comedian. I'm just a comedian. That's all I do. Funny TikToks, funny YouTubes, funny tweets. Like, I'm just out here trying to make people laugh. I don't want to stir the pot during lockdown. All I want to do is make people laugh. And then one day, like I was telling somebody a story about how I grew up with the Duggars in Arkansas, and they were like, have you told this story anywhere? And I was like, no, I haven't. And they said, this would make a great podcast. And so I did the first episode, and I was like, this is kind of fun. And so now I feel like, if you look at my Facebook, now my brand is kind of this, like, I'm still a comedian and I still do comedy and I still do storytelling, but I'm very open about, like, growing up Fundie, episode 1, like, here's this person, here's this guest. And what's been interesting is, we talked earlier about how a lot of people are afraid when they start to deconstruct, they'll lose everybody. They're afraid to say anything about it. They're afraid to lose the church or leave the church because they're afraid they'll lose their friends and family. What's been very interesting to me is the post will get about 3 likes. The podcast will get about 300 streams that day, and and it's the private messages I get from people from all corners of my life, people I went to college with, people I grew up with in church, people who I know their parents are pastors, privately messaging me and being like, hey, I really liked that episode that you did. I just wanted you to know I listened to every episode. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. Because, when you're a comedian, it's like, no, I got to get those likes. I got to get those views. But when you're talking about something like this, you have to be sensitive to the fact that people cannot have on their Spotify a podcast called Growing Up Fundie when their wife is still involved heavily in the Mormon church, or their dad still preaches every Sunday. So you're like, oh, there's this whole rogue internet out there where friends have, like, private Spotify's, private Reddits under different names. I remember when
it's the good dark web.
Right. I remember when Jimmy Snow changed his channel from Mr. Atheist to Jimmy Snow, because he said, I realized you can't subscribe to my channel if I have the word atheist in my title. And that was like a moment for me. And so it's totally different, where one half of your life, you're this person where it's all about visibility, like, share my jokes, share my memes, do this, subscribe. With this other one, it's like, I won't say a word about it. Nobody will ever know that you told me you listened to this. I won't say it. I won't send you the links. I'll just let you, if you want to keep following, that's cool. I don't have to see you on my subscriber list ever. But it's like, it's just wild to change that and to see people change with you.
It's worth pointing out that this whole thing, we're talking about the importance of evolving your ideas, and you're not the same person and stuff. And that's kind of the thing that religion as a whole doesn't want you to do. It's like, no, these are the rules. You cannot deviate from these rules. If you have any thoughts deviating from the rules, there's something wrong with you, not the rules. And, like, the whole idea, especially of like fundamentalist religion, is we don't want you to change. These are the way things are. And the whole thing that we've known, that we've talked to people who are figuring this out, is no, there's a lot of value in changing your ideas, changing your beliefs over time.
Much value.
They have to adapt, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hopefully you're just moving in a better direction. And that's a good thing. And that's so hard to do.
It's hard
when you're raised in any bubble that tells you that deviating from what we tell you is true is blasphemy. There's something wrong with you. We want to find mind tricks, Satan, to tell you not to go that route. That's scary.
We want to get ahead of you and tell you the questions you're going to ask yourself later in your life, and pinpoint to you why those exact questions are wrong, because we know they're coming, because we've all secretly had them, which they don't address that part. They're like, wait a second, how do you know exactly what I'm going to ask? Wait a second. The fear aspect is so ingrained that you don't stop to think about the actual logistics of, are we having a moment here?
I mean, there is a group online that formed years ago. They actually just made an off-Broadway play about it, but it was called the Clergy Project, and it was specifically targeting members of the clergy, pastors, who were like, literally, your job is in the pulpit. You cannot leave, because your whole life, literally, your family depends on you preaching, because that's your job. What happens when that's the person who has religious doubts? Who do you talk to? What do you do at that point? And what ended up happening, this is the work of Linda Lascola, I forgot her title, like psychologist, I'm sorry if that's wrong, but also Danielle Dennett, who is an author. They basically said, let's create a forum, online, private, where like you can use a pseudonym, but basically let's vet and allow people into this private forum where they can talk to each other because they're all in the same boat. So you had priests, you had Mormon leaders, you had people, and some of them came out on their own time at when they felt comfortable to do so. Some of them maybe still anonymous and they're still preaching every week. But the thing is, like, it's so hard when this is the rebranding thing. It's hard to do. It's especially hard to do when people know you for being a religious person, when that is part of who you are. And having that ability to be able to read books, listen to podcasts privately. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if this is a joke or not, but what website has probably turned more people into atheists than any other website, do you think?
I don't know. What website?
I would argue that the answer is Google, because you can search for these questions in a way you never could. Like, because there's all those stories about like, if Adam and Eve were the first two people, then and they only had boys, how did life develop, whatever. Those are the sorts of questions you might ask in Sunday school. And the response is like, just have faith. Just stop asking those. How come they have belly buttons in the pictures? Shut up. Just have faith, whatever. But when you type that stuff in and you realize other people have these questions, or there are legitimate answers to why it's wrong, or things like that, it's like, oh, that stuff makes sense.
Right.
And I'm allowed to ask these questions in incognito mode or whatever it is.
Yes.
And that makes a huge difference, because you can't ask some of this stuff in church, or at least they don't do a good job of making those questions welcome.
No.
Even in places that say we're out doing a seeker service, we are out trying to reach the unconverted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that stuff makes a huge difference. What you said, I have told people all the time, if they're like, how do I start a YouTube channel? Should I start a YouTube channel? Should I do any of this? And the answer is always, if you feel safe and comfortable, you should do it. You're not going to like it like 10 episodes or a year down the line, for sure. You're going to cringe. But if you put something out there, you are going to get those private messages that you're talking about from people who are like, hey, I stumbled upon this and you're speaking my language and your voice is a voice I resonate with. And thank you for saying this stuff, because I don't feel like I can say it out loud.
Yes.
And again, this is where it's like, I wish I had those resources. I lucked out in the stuff I found, but there are so many things now that I've pitched this to like national atheist organizations. Like, I don't need you to create more resources, more books necessarily, because they're out there. Like, whatever you want to think about Richard Dawkins, the God Delusion's fine. It does the job it sets out to do. So I don't need you to do that. I would love to see what else you could do, because for the first time, we are now seeing second, third generation atheists who were not raised in religion, who are like the kids who look at us and like, why is this a thing for you? Because they just didn't grow up with it. Their friends at school are not religious, or maybe they are. It's fine, whatever. But it's like, okay, well then, like, I'm glad you don't have to deal with that. That means it worked. That means the sort of stuff
like,
we're
you're
doing
telling me
had
it
a
worked.
purpose.
It also makes me feel old, because I'm like, oh wait, so you're telling me like the work that we've been putting out there, it's finally, and then part of you is like, we had to go uphill both ways for you kids, like have some respect. And then the other part of you is like, oh my God, it worked. Wow. And to your point about the pastors and the preachers who are having the same deconstruction experiences we are having, I had a guest on recently where I asked him, I said, would you be upset if you found out that your pastor had been preaching from the pulpit all this time and he was questioning, or maybe he didn't believe any of it? And he said, he's like, no. He said, because his house is paid for by the church and his children are fed by the church. And he said, it's easy for us to hop on YouTube and be like, that's not real. But when your entire life and everything you studied in your biblical college and everything on your resume is religious based, and you don't even have the resume you need to sort mail at the what's it called? The post office. I was like, the mail drop off place.
That's the hardest thing for the Clergy Project. It's how do we build an off ramp for you to use the skills you have, public speaking, communication. Those are skills. Can we translate that to a secular line of work?
Right. And he's like, of course you're not going to come out and say you don't think God's real, because your kids are going to starve and your life's going to fall apart. And I thought that was a great point, because even now, even through all these episodes, I was like, well, that sounds hypocritical. Like, I'd be mad if I found that out. And he's like, you wouldn't if you were going to be on the street, if you said any of it publicly. And this was a guy who's well known on YouTube for just arguing with everybody about atheism. I thought, if anything, he was going to be like, no, they're a bunch of liars, but he was like, no, it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. And
it's one reason I don't like doing debates on this stuff, especially with people in that position. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. It's very performative and showy. I have friends who do those debates and they're really good at it. But like, to me, a more interesting question isn't me trying to convince you God isn't real. It's a question that says, is Christianity a benefit or harmful?
Right.
Is Christianity a benefit to America right now? I feel like you could make two very different, solid arguments on something like analysis. That. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with whether or not it's true. And that to me is a more interesting discussion, because a lot of the stuff I'm doing now, a lot of the groups I work with now, it's very much targeting like Christian nationalism, how a certain brand of Christianity goes after trans people, goes after women's rights, things like that. That has nothing to do with the beliefs themselves, because they end up being allies with a lot of progressive Christian groups on these same issues. It's like, that to me is a fight I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And if they still believe in God at the end of the day, like, listen, you can't fix everything wrong on the internet, like at some point you got to back away. You're not going to do everything. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm landing on a lot of that stuff.
Exactly. And the thing about debates is, and this is coming from somebody who I was a debater for years, like I lived, breathed, and died debate, is I have never once heard a debate where I was like, wow, I've changed my mind because of this debate that I heard. It either was, yeah, take that, because I agreed with the person who won already, or I was like, no, they don't know what they're talking about because the person I agreed with lost. But what has changed my mind is when somebody has asked me a good question about something I'm vehement about, and I got so offended by the question that I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then later at home, when I'm by myself and I get on Google and I start Googling why they would have asked me that, and then I realize there are some good points secretly in my bedroom without like public knowledge. Maybe
where you don't have to be publicly embarrassed about it. I got that. What was interesting, so several years ago, there's that Creation Museum in Kentucky.
There is.
And years ago, Bill Nye, the science guy, agreed to do a debate about creationism against Ken Ham from that place. And when that happened, when he said he was going to do it, the response from the bloggers and a lot of the organizations and stuff was like, Bill Nye, what the hell are you doing? You don't platform this. There's no debate to be had. And like, there's nothing good that'll come of this, because Christians, especially guys who run ministries like that, the one thing they're very good at is performance and communication. And you're Bill Nye, but still, they're also going to be good at this.
Right.
You're not going to win the debate, because they're playing this game because they don't need the evidence doesn't matter here. But I am telling you, as someone who is critical of it as well, the fact that they were having a debate, I have met so many people who ended up watching that debate. Maybe they went in thinking, I'm a creationist and like I really want to see my guy destroy Bill Nye. But whatever seeds were planted over the course of that debate, it led them down that path where like to your point about the debate, did you change your mind? Maybe not. As a viewer, did you change your mind? Maybe not in that instance. But sometimes you're watching those debates and it leaves something. It gets you questioning something that you're not sure what the answer is. And again, that's the seed that's why those are valuable. I still don't want to do them. But I do get the purpose of them, because again, it's not because I think I'm going to change my mind participating in the debate, but by putting these ideas out there in whatever voice you have, if it's coming, and I'm telling you, if it's coming, if it's coming from a woman, if it's coming from a person of color, if it's coming from someone who's 16 and not like almost 40, that makes a huge difference because they are more likely to listen to you and take those ideas seriously because they trust you. And so I want to see more people talking about this stuff in whatever way makes sense to them. And that's the cool thing too. Like, you don't have to rely on that stuff that came out 15 years ago in an old format. And it's a game I'm constantly trying to reinvent. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but like, it's all right, let's try a podcast. Let's try this type of YouTube video. I found this girl who's like, I swear, half my age, who edits a lot of my videos now. And it's like, oh, you're so much better. It would take me forever to do this stuff. But what you're bringing to the table makes it more fun to watch for me. And I'm the guy making scripts or whatever. But it's like, oh, cool. When you add that new flavor in, you get this totally different product. And again, whenever I get so excited when I see someone who is new to this stuff making videos or whatever, TikToks, whatever the next thing is going to be about this stuff. Because it's like, oh, I don't know anything about you and I adore this. Like, keep doing your thing. I hope it lasts more than 3 minutes. Like, your career on whatever platform this is, because a lot of people just kind of do it and then fade away fast.
Right.
But man, it's exciting whenever there's a new medium, because it's more creative people doing their thing on this stuff.
And I feel like also that's been the number one sign. I don't know about you, but for me, that's been the number one sign that I'm getting older, is when there's a new platform and there's younger kids doing what I had wanted to do, but I didn't have that. And you're like, you go, young kids, like, you're going to change like, you feel too old to be doing what they're doing, but you're like, you're going to change this country. You're going to change this place. I'm proud of you.
There's like that old joke, like, imagine it's TikTok. It wasn't around a few years ago and now it's everywhere. But it's like, the joke is, whenever there's a new format, there are two groups of people who are going to pounce on it really quickly and become really good at it. And it's the people who make adult videos, and it's like evangelical pastors, and they're always really, really good. It's the only thing they have in common. But like, I'm looking for that every time. It's like, okay, well, who's criticizing religion in this format? Who's talking about this stuff in a clever way? And every time I see just some random person, like, with a video of a sermon in the background and their voiceover talking head in front of it, it's like, I don't know who you are, but I love this. You're so good at this. You get the medium. I couldn't do it because, like, whatever, I self-conscious about all this stuff, but damn it, you're good. Keep going.
Oh, you're good. Take my upvote. Take my subscription. Just take it. There's a
take my lurking from a distance, because I don't know how to do any of the other stuff.
Take my old person vote. Take my arthritis handshake. There's a big trend right now where, in the true crime community, where people are doing, like, they're talking about true crime cases and like research and whatever, and they're also doing their makeup at the same time. They're like, oh, and and after that, that's when at the age of 21, they met their husband, who, keep that in mind, and I'm waiting for the day that I see my very first, like, and so atheism, it's this thing where, like, if you're going to ask yourself,
listen, someone's going to be really good at that, and I want to know who's doing that, because that sounds amazing.
Like, part of me wants to do it, and part of me is just tired. I've just been creating content for so long. I'm so tired. I can't reinvent myself again. And that takes so many ring lights. God. But
you got the Vaseline background. Yeah, exactly.
But listen, I just got the color lights. We need to just slow our roll. I just got these last week, and I made them myself.
They look good. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I bought the lights, and then I cut up clear view folders, and I taped them on the front to make the colors, because I didn't know how the app
awesome. That's great. You've done this too. Like, every time I watch a YouTube video now of whoever the talking head is, I'm totally like, how did you get that background? That looks amazing. Or like, how did you do this or that? And I'm like, oh, you said something too? Interesting.
Oh, yeah, there's a message here. Do you are you familiar with Pine Creek Doug?
That name sounds very familiar, and I don't remember why.
He's an atheist YouTuber. He's got like a very large following. But I had him on as a guest, and his video was so good that while I was editing it, I had to like watch it a few times, because I was just looking at the quality of the video. And finally I reached out to him, and I was like, what is the camera you use? I was like, this is weird. I'm like, what is, and so he recommended the camera. Yeah. And so I just feel like every time you watch a video, you're like, I love the lighting. I love the camera. And now I'm an adult and I can just email them and ask them what it is. And I can just buy it because I'm a grown up. It's wild.
This literally, the person I mentioned who's editing my videos is someone whose video I saw on YouTube, or we communicated about something totally different. And she's like, "Can I have this clip you're using because I want to make a video about it?" I'm like, "Sure, go for it." And then I saw the video she made. I'm like, "Holy crap, this is great. Why do you not have a gazillion views?" Because it looks amazing. The whole background looks amazing. This should, I don't know what this is. Like, hers look great. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I can't do all the background stuff, but you're editing and the comic timing that you're doing, everything great. Can I have you make stuff for me? Here's some money. Like, do this for me.
Yeah.
I'll hire you for this. And she's been amazing. But that's the thing. It's like, yeah, if they're good, and it's so nice to see when they're good at it, and they're sending a message and it's funny.
Yes.
Oh, it's glorious.
And the message isn't harmful or toxic, and it's not some weird internet challenge. That's just wonderful. I feel like I feel like I sounded so old. You know, they're not eating the Tide Pods on the camera.
I do spend a lot of time on the Fundie Snark subreddit, and I do
too.
Oh man,
I do too.
That is my true crime podcast at night. That is how I fall asleep. Yes. I just read and all those posts, and I feel like I know these families and way too much about their personal lives and how they're renovating their houses. It's great.
Yes. So funny story. There's Fundie Snark and there's Fundie Snark Uncensored.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was referring to Uncensored.
Well, so I got banned from Fundie Snark. I'm only on Fundie Snark Uncensored now because I posted.
What did you do?
So listen, it's weird. It's weird. I'm still confused. So I posted a story about growing up with the Duggars. And then I mentioned in the story, I was like, hey, if you guys have any questions, but it wasn't like mean. It was just like,
you're not doxing them. You're just talking.
No, I'm just like, I thought you guys might enjoy this. Fundie Snark Uncensored loved it. They were like, this is the greatest. It was about how they were better at piano than me. That's all it was.
Okay.
And but like in the story, I like gave details. I was like, we lived in this town and this is the church we went to, and this is how many kids they had at the time before they had their show, blah, blah, blah. And Fundie Snark banned me because they said that everything I mentioned in my story was provable on the internet and that I probably made it up. And I was like, wait, I was like, I'm sorry.
Your life is fiction.
Well, I was like, I gave details that were so verifiable as true that I made up the story. I don't understand. And then they banned me. They were like, get out of here. And so I can't post on there. Yeah. But I'm like, so what do you want then? I literally gave time, dates, evidence, locations.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can find all that on Google because it's true. Yeah. But
oh man.
I'm still salty about that, to be honest.
I understand, but that is a great subreddit and I hope it doesn't disappear.
That's where I got this name from.
Too much joy.
That's where I learned the term Fundie. That's literally where I got this from. Yeah. Do you ever follow Fundie fashion or Fundie meal prep or something, like Fundie cooking?
Oh my God. My wife does, not because of the Fundie thing, does not care, but something about, I want to watch meal prep with 12 kids. There's something about that. I know much about one particular family and they just did their Christmas shopping and I have so many questions.
Listen, there's a reason I used to see the Duggars at Aldi all the time because you can buy bulk and it's cheap. And again, I guess I'm lying about that because I have evidence. Shit's back that up. I'm going to be salty about that the rest of my life. I realized I just looked at the clock. I realized they kept you like a half hour longer than I said I would.
Oh my God. I didn't notice.
Yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day. I might reach out to you again and be like, hey, do you want to do another episode? Because I could still talk about this all day.
Done.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad that all the commenters were totally right about you and like the experience it would be having you as a guest. But
that's awesome. Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. To kind of bring it on home, if you had a message for anyone listening to this who maybe they're currently going to church, but they're not sure how they feel about it, or they just admitted to themselves that they are no longer religious, but again, they're not really sure what their journey looks like or what to do, what would you personally suggest?
There's no date by which you need to make a decision. So like, keep reading, keep exploring, go incognito mode, do what you got to do. But no one's forcing you to not think about this stuff. Satan is not looking over your shoulder. If you are older and you're not under your parents' roof, it's a little easier to try to meet people who might like share those thoughts, and you could talk to them. Like, there are group meetings, meetup groups, like Facebook groups, whatever. It does help to try to meet people in person where you could talk this stuff out, because again, when you can make that connection with a total stranger who has totally been through the same thing, it's a world of difference. And if you're at the point where you're feeling super comfortable with it, I really do, even though you're going to cringe about it like a year from now, try to talk about it in some platform, whatever is the thing you use. Find a way to do it. I don't care if it's making a craft on Etsy that talks about like your non-religiosity, but like, talk about it, get it out there, because you're bound to, you need a way to vent. You need a way to get this stuff out. And if it's lurking on Fundie Snark Uncensored, or like making videos or making a podcast, even if you think no one's listening to it, people are going to find it. Like, and that stuff helps. You could, if it was hard for you to make that leap, try to make it easier for the next person if you can. And if you're not at that point yet, just remember there are so many people who have those doubts, who are trying to figure out where to turn. You're not alone in that stuff. And I'm sure you could reach out to Sydney. You can reach out to me too. Our stuff is, I'm sure, wherever I'm pointing now. But
linked in the show notes.
Yeah, like, just reach out, because there's a lot of people who have gone through this before, and you're definitely not alone if you have doubts about stuff.
That's really good advice. That's really solid advice. I love that. I feel like that boiled down our entire conversation really nicely. And even though I feel like, if you're young, by the way, if you're young and you're listening to this, reach out to me. I want to know what lights you use. I want to know what camera you use. I want to know if you want to edit TikToks for me.
Tell me what microphone I should replace this with, so it sounds good, but it's not like in your face and taking up 30% of the screen.
I will say it sounds really good. It does sound good.
Oh, good.
It does. Good. But help us out. We need some help here. But Hemant, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being on the podcast. I've loved talking to you. I will link anything you want, and I plan on linking your channel in the show notes, if that's okay.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Anything else you want me to link? I'm happy to provide it.
Just the OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Yeah, we got to pay our bills.